All right, well, it's 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, and we are going to get started with today's Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A. I'm Dave McCormick from Alpha Software. Pleased to be joined by Dion McCormick down in Austin, Texas. Dion today, I believe, is going to be continuing his conversation on containers. We're also here to answer any questions that you may have about Alpha Anywhere. We encourage you to type those into the questions box of the GoToWebinar interface, and you can do that now if you like. This session will be recorded. A copy of the recording shall be found on videos.alphasoftware.com. Hello, Dion. Are you there?
Doing great. Thank you very much. Am I coming through okay?
You're coming through great. And I can see
Great. Just want to make sure we have a good network connection and no problems today. And wanted to say thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your valuable schedule and joining us. I highly recommend that you take a moment, search that brain, dig up anything, and put it into the question area of the GoToWebinar control panel. Your questions help guide us in terms of what information we need to deliver to help you be successful with the Alpha platform. And the neat thing about it is the Alpha platform gets more robust, more extensive, so there's always new things to talk about and new things to go through. So again, your questions are important. Please put them into our questions. Dave will review those, get them queued up, and we can answer them. As Dave mentioned, what I'd like to do is continue our discussion from last week regarding, let me pop down here, containers, and we had started that discussion. And for those that are new, this will be a continuation, but I'll cover a little bit, but I think you'll get a lot out of it. But containers are a critical functional piece of the UX control, which is our form control. And much like the Container Store, which I hope you've all had a chance to visit now and offload some of that wallet dollars, get the economy moving, we have a diverse and wide set of functional capabilities by different containers, and those are going to continue to grow. So we had our plain vanilla containers that we came in last week, and I demonstrated how basically it was a hidden control. It allows you to group controls. It also allows you to hide them as a group or take actions on them a group. And I kind of showed a demo where, and I'll recap that in a moment, where you can have basically a set of controls show and hide depending on the presence of other controls, which are very powerful. And the neat thing is that's all client side, so it's instantaneous in the eyes of the user. I mean, it just happens. And so you can create these very dynamic, robust, beautiful controls and have them show and hide, even with animation, and it just really makes your user interface snappy. So we want to dive into it. So what I'd like to do is continue our discussion from last time and talk about a different type of container. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over into my development environment. And this is where we left off last week. We had a very simple control here called container. It's a UX control for people who are newer. This is our form control. And this renders down into HTML, JavaScript. And basically what these containers are, or think of them as hidden, they're divs or spans. They're hidden controls that then give you access to be able to show and hide. So let me go ahead and show you a quick preview of that real quick. So in our situation last time, we've got text box A, we got a set of controls here. I was able to use the containers to lay them out on this screen, but also if I start typing in here, you'll notice something, that my controls over here disappeared. So not only do controls allow you to, or containers allow you to group and format things, but you can also add behaviors to those containers to show and hide. And in this case, again, we have two containers, one for this set of text boxes, the other for this set of text boxes. I've set a rule saying if I type anything in this control right here, these should hide. And as you notice, as I type the letters in there, this container went away. And so the easy way to do that was I have my two containers for the two text box A, B, and container text box B and or C and D. And on this container, I used the client-side properties show hide expression to basically say if text box A is equal to empty, go ahead and show this container. But if it is not empty, then hide that container. Very simple to do. And another cool thing about containers is that it's going to operate on all the controls within that container. So therefore, I don't have to put hides on every single container or every single control. I can basically put the hide on my top level and it operates that. That all works really well with our security capabilities. As most people have seen and we've done presentations on, Alpha has a very strong security framework which allows you to set up groups, assign users to groups. And what I can actually do is when I have that enabled, I can actually say all controls in this container can only be accessed by certain groups. So containers are very powerful when you're looking at security to say, hey, maybe you have like a manager's sign-off area on your form where only the manager gets to see that. Well, you can put all those sign-off things, like let's say you had a signature capture control and a couple other things on there. You could put all of that in a container and then set the security group on that container, and therefore only the people with the security level of, say, manager would see those controls. So containers are formatting. They're also setting behavior on multiple controls with a single command versus having to do it on every single one. So now let's explore a little bit more. I'm going to go right here to my end here. I'm going to go down to my container box, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the container. And you'll notice when I click on there, I have a whole bunch of different items that are available. I'm not going to do repeating section today. I'm going to come back to that next week. That's going to be really cool. You're really going to enjoy it. But we also have some very cool panel header, panel footer, control groups, button groups, spin list groups. But I want to show the next one, which is called a window container, a very, very powerful container, especially for like mobile and web things. So what I'm going to do again is I'm in my environment here. I'm going to go ahead and click on container. I'm going to go down here to window and select that container type. Now remember, if you forget what these are, right here we have a button called explain different container types. And when you click on that, it opens up a box that goes through and gives you a detailed information about what every one of these containers do. And you also have a click right here to take you to a video demonstration where you can actually see, much like we're doing today, someone actually put in a container and put it in there and show actually in video how it works. So you're not going to get lost. So if you get confused or forget, just go ahead and click on the explain different container type, and then you can also click here to see a video. But for this week, I'm going to go ahead and select window. So I'm going to click insert after because I want it to be after the control right there. Note if I already have a bunch of controls on my user interface, one thing that's nice is I can use the insert around, and it will actually, I can select the controls and say wrap these controls in a window. But in this case, I don't have any controls, so I'm going to click insert after. So now I have a new container. Now what's interesting here is you'll notice two things. One is that instead of calling it container 1, it called it window_3. It's the third container I added here, but in this case it's a special type called window. And you'll notice also that we have changed the color, or the color is different. It's kind of there. And the reason for this is that it gives you a visual, once you start putting together user interfaces, you may have 10, 15 containers, 3 windows, etc. It gives you a visual indicator of what kind of thing this thing is. So it really helps you out a lot when you're doing your development from that standpoint. So I have a container, and right now I don't have anything in that container. So let me go ahead and just go down to other controls. I'm going to add a piece of static text. I'm going to add, let's say, an image here. And I'm going to add, actually, you know what, let's make this, I'll come back and do that right now. So let's just do something very simple where I have a window with a static text, and we'll go window demo. And then for image, I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to go over here to image name in the image properties. And I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, I wonder if I have an image already in here somewhere. Oh yeah, I do, that's kind of cool. Okay, and then let's do this. Let's make it about 200 by 200 pixels or so like that. Okay, so what I've done is I've created my window control, and I have added content into it. Now let me go ahead and go into my live preview and show you what it looks like. So I'm going into my preview, and you'll notice something. When it shows up, nothing's there. Well, the reason why is window controls are initially hidden. So the data is actually there. These are client-side controls, so they're hidden right now. So what I want to go ahead and show you is how do we then show that window. So I'm going to go back into my device. I'm going to go here. I'm going to add a button. And then I'm going to go up here to the button. I'm going to say show window. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to that button's JavaScript actions. So this is where we add behaviors into the system. And for folks that are new, don't let all these things get you confused. We have a ton of different options, mainly because we want to be able to give you every little hook to make it work exactly the way you want. But the reality is once you start using the tool, you're usually using 3 or 4 levels. But the way it works is that I've selected my button over here. I've got my different parameters, and I'm going down here to the touch mouse point events for the click event. So either someone clicks it with a mouse, this button, or they touch it with their finger. So I'm going to go ahead and click that to open it up. And this opens up our Action JavaScript Builder, and our Action JavaScript Builder is focused on making it easy for you to add behaviors. And again, behaviors are done in JavaScript, but we don't want to have to force you to learn all that. So I'm just going to add a new action in here. So I'm going to click Add New Action. I have a whole host of different options that are available, but in this case I want a window action. So I start typing up here in filter list window, and it automatically reduces. And so I have a bunch of different things here. I can open an A5W page, but really what I want to do is show container window. That's this window right here. And I click OK. And you'll notice then it says, well, what window do you want to show? Sure enough, there's showing window 3, the one I just created. So now I've created an activity that when I click this button, it's going to show this window. And you'll notice down here that reality is it's just written a little piece of JavaScript here that says show container window. But the neat thing is you don't have to learn all that syntax. You can just point and click and be able to do that from there. So let's close that, save that. Now I'm going to do one other thing. So let's go ahead and go back into my working preview. You'll notice now, and it's a little smaller, but we have our button here, we have our window. But what I want to do is this. When you create a window, it's kind of a two-step process. First is I'm defining my container, and then I'm putting inside of it what I want to show inside that window. Now, the cool thing about it, Alpha, is that there could be different types of windows. You could have pop-up windows, you could have slide-out menu windows, you could have drop-down windows. So there's many different types. So the cool thing about that is that the actual showing of the window is a very simple show container window. How it gets shown, we actually define using the container, i.e. the window. So you'll notice I'm selecting the first window thing here, and then over here on my properties I have something that's called window properties, and I click that, and it opens up a genie, and this is where I define exactly how I want to show my window. So the cool thing about that is I can change it at any time. I don't have to go in and rewrite all my code to show the window. It just says, oh, I should show myself this way now. So for instance, right now, what I have, I'm going to say, you'll see the default here is modal pop-up, and then it's going to show that. So I'm going to accept the default. So what I've done is when I created this window, I'm going to accept the default window properties. And now let's go ahead and show you how this works. So I go into my preview. You'll notice now that, again, the window is not shown, but we have our button here. I click Show Window and see what happens. It's actually created a modal window. Notice I can't click behind here. It's disabled my background because this is modal. I can actually drag this, make it bigger, resize it. I can move it around the window. And you'll notice I didn't write any code to do any of this. I basically said, hey, here's a container. This is how I want to show it. And then it shows. And then all of these behaviors are handled for you by you. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I can re-show that window, etc. So I go, okay, two things. You'll notice when I first started this out, it was a little small. The other thing is I'd like this to be modeless, meaning that I'd like to be able to have this sitting up here but still work on my control. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that, close this here. I'm going to go back into my window, and I'm going to open up my window properties. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is instead of a mobile pop-up, what I'd like to do is a modeless pop-up, which means it will do there. And then what I'm going to do down here is my window height, let's make that like 300 pixels, and let's make the width, say, 400 pixels. Make sure I do that right. So I'm defining not only how I want the window to open up and behave, but the parameters of that window. So I click OK. I now save that, and I go back into my environment, And again, I would usually normal working preview, but it's easier for you to see when I go and actually launch it in the browser. The other thing I want to show you is that this all works great in browsers. So your people out in the field will be able to use it. So I click Show Window. You'll notice one thing. One, the window's bigger. I can still resize it and modify it. But you'll notice something else. The background is still active. So if I go in here and I say, you know what, 1, 2, 3, notice my other container started there, but my window is still open, so I could be referring to some data while typing in Machu Picchu or wherever that is, or whatever. It's Machu Picchu. But so I kind of do that same from there, and then whenever I want to show that window, I can do it. And this show container I'm using as a button, but there's nothing to be say that I couldn't click on a piece of text or something else and have that show there. Now, I'm going to wrap this up in the next couple minutes, but I want to show you a couple other elements of Windows that are very powerful. The next type of window, what I want to do is I want to make this a drop-down, and this is a very common situation. So I'm going to make it a drop-down, and what I want to do is have a pointer icon right there, and the pointer position to be auto. So again, change my window type to drop-down, and my pointer icon there. So now I go in here. I go ahead and save this and go ahead and go into my full preview. Now let's watch the behavior of it now. So I've got this button here, and I click it, and notice what happens. It opens it up as a drop-down, essentially, window or menu, and I can still drag it around. I can disable that if I want, but I could have like a set of sub-commands because I can have any controls I want in here, and I'll show you that an example in a moment that's really cool. So the idea behind it is that I can have basically a drop-down window, and then when I click out of it, it goes away. So this is really nice to create little drop-down menus and little like dense information. So maybe you don't want to show all this data at one time, but you want to have the user to be able to have instant access. And you'll notice it's like instantaneous because all of this is kind of hidden behind the scene, able to be seen by the user. So let me do one other thing to show you how powerful this can be. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to change this to a modeless pop-up. And instead of an image in here in text, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a map component. Okay? And I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to center the map on a location, which is oh, wait a minute. Oh, let me see how. I'll just do it without that, but I could set that up there. So I'm going to create a map and have it right there. Let's see if we fill the container. It should do that there. So we click Save. So basically, I've created an app. Now, this map could be connected to get its data on where the location is from other controls on your it's up to you. But for now, I'm going to keep it simple for this demonstration. So now I go in to my preview, and I have the same info. When you're in this, so you keep opening, you have to kind of go over here, turn off the development server, turn it back on. Okay. Okay, we'll go back in and do that real quick. Coming up. Same picture. Now when I show the window, it's going to take a moment because it's loading that map in the background. Okay. Check it out. You'll notice right here that I have a modeless, I've still got my drop-down thing, I get rid of that, but I could literally have a map that's interacting with my data in there, floating over my other interface, and then this is fully handleable, you can move this around, etc. It defaulted on Boston, wonder why, and so it allows you, but notice how it interacts in here all completely, and it's all handled by the system. I could drag this over here. I could have 2 or 3 maps up there. When I click on this, I could send messages. So as you can see, the container type of window is extremely powerful. And I haven't even touched on some of the other ways you can open this window. And I'll do that next week because I want to kind of extend this because I want to show you how you can create kind of modern mobile interfaces using a container window. It's very, very powerful. But this is our next introduction. So you'll notice in here we have that information, and that's how you use Windows. So just remember, Windows are hidden containers. They can either be simple or more complex. In this case, we covered the window, which has a whole bunch of properties to allow you to create windows on top of your interface and use that. You can create different types, modeless, modal, modeless, drop-down, all these kind of things. And there's lots of, if I go back in there, you'll see that there's tons of different things you can do to modify the look and feel, add things with your JavaScript events. I mean, it's completely wide open in terms of what you can do with a window and make it interactive for the user. It's really up to you. You can include custom toolbar buttons on the window to make life easier for you. It's very simple to manage there. So that's our next segment on Windows. The next session, I will dive into Windows a little bit more because I want to show you some of the more mobile paradigm where you have windows sliding out from the left or right or top. And even though that was really driven for the mobile platform, I find it's really super effective on a web browser interface because it allows you to have an enormous amount of data available to the user instantaneously, but only show it when the user wants it. So they're not you don't have to make your user interface really busy. And I'll show you an example of that in our next session. But that's kind of an extension of our containers. We have our plain ones, we have our windows. I am going to show you another cool one after that, but we're going to extend and talk a little bit more about Windows because it's such a powerful concept, and I'll show you some cooler examples the next time around. So with that, I will hand it back to Dave. Let me know if you're seeing people line up those all-important questions for our discussion here.
They are indeed. Excellent.
Good. Yay. Go team.
I know. So let's see. Let's start with, okay. Here's a question about containers. If you hide a container, does the surrounding space around the container get hidden as well? I've noticed that if you hide some controls, Alpha hides the control, but not the surrounding frame space.
Yes, that will happen. I've seen that before. And the trick on that is the following, is that, again, what these are, what they're called divs, is like the technical term in HTML. And divs always put like little hidden returns in there. So one thing I would suggest you do is experiment this. Select your container, and then over here where it says prevent container float, enable that. And what that does is that should get rid of that white space when it disappears, because instead of rendering it as a div which has built-in white space, I believe it renders it as what's called a span tag, which is an HTML thing, and there's no white space around it. So again, click on your container, go over to the properties and click prevent container float, enable that, and give that a try. And that should hopefully give you kind of the appearance that you're looking for, so you don't have all those kind of random white spaces in and around your interface when you've hidden things.
Great. Here's another question, which asks, if you have a hidden container and it contains multiple controls, how is the validation and submission for the controls handled? How does that work?
That's a very good point. And the answer is that's tricky. The validation, if you do have validation in it and you try and submit it and the controls are hidden, it can cause you a few little problems. So what you can do, and the way I handle that, is that if I know I might have some controls, usually and for people who are new to Alpha, when you have a control, let's take this example, text box V. You can go over here and have what are called validation rules. And on those validation rules, I can say, for instance, require a value, allow inners, etc., and things like that. And it's really easy and powerful to do that. The problem is that if this has let's say we have text box D, and it's in this container, then what will happen is that since it's hidden, the user won't know there's a problem because it will fire the validation rule, prevent you from submitting it, but at the same time, how do they know what's going on there? So what I often do is in my server-side events, in the dialog validate here, I can actually capture those situations and selectively show the hidden area to resolve the problem. So there's a couple ways I handle that. First, if I know that's the way, I can actually do my own validation in here. And actually, instead of attaching it to each control, I can just get the value of the control, validate it, and if it doesn't validate, I can put up my own warning kind of scenario. And then the other alternative is you could also do that, and if you notice there's a validation issue, you can then manually show the container stuff. So yeah, that's a little tricky. You have to kind of think about your validation strategy. And in that situation, if you're going to have a lot of different controls, you can do them all in the dialog validate event, where when you submit the form, you can validate it there versus putting it on each control. And then you have a lot more power to send back a message, say, to the very type. Like, you know, a key control that I use is what's called a placeholder. And this is automatically inserted on a lot of controls. This is another little hidden, and what you can do is this can show a message in this hidden placeholder. So for instance, if you have a validation error, you can send a message back to the user saying, hey, I can't do this because text box D is not valid, and I can automatically show that container. So it gets a little trickier. It's a really good question, but the mechanism to handle that is through the server-side event dialog validate. You'll see there's a lot of documentation in here. So instead of doing the validation on the control itself, you can do it actually during this event here and still achieve the same result and actually even do some more powerful validation within it and centralize your validation logic for the form. That's the way that's how I would approach it.
Excellent. We are actually running low on questions. We're only halfway through the hour.
Come on, team.
I know, guys, come on. Anyway, here's the next question, though. And it's simply that, can Alpha read or interpret QR codes?
Yes, it can. First, which is very important, is that Alpha can actually create QR codes in reports. So if I go into my report area, I'm going to just create a new report. And this is the first half of it. Let me go ahead and create this. Okay. And, oh, I'll go ahead and open, no, I want to do it this way. Sorry, my bad. Let me create a new report. I want to show you how to do this first. SQL, let's start with a blank free form. And opening that up. Okay. Now I can go in here and I can actually embed a QR code within my thing. So let's say my cell is hello world. It could be associated with the database. Then I say display QR code. It's going to automatically, when it shows this report, if this works well, you'll notice it's taking hello world and turning it into a QR code. So I want to show you that's a really easy way for you to create QR codes in your system. And you can do that either there or actually on a form, which is very cool too. Because you know, actually let me go ahead and show you that too, is that if we create a new UX, let me go to my web components, and this is a common paradigm I'm seeing more and more, where finally QR codes are finding a purpose in life. You know, printed QR codes aren't as very important, but I can actually go into my controls here, and I have a QR code control. I'll say QR test. And this could be data bound, this control right here, but I'm going to go ahead and say this is hello world, okay? And let me go ahead and show you the preview of this. So all it does, it takes that data and it creates a QR code. So for instance, think of this, and I'm going to answer your question, so bear with me. It all comes back to the reason. I don't know if anybody's taken a plane flight lately, but now what happens is the airlines will send you an email with an embedded QR code. You'll open that up, or it's in your app, their app. You walk up to the TSA, instead of handing them a printed ticket, you hand them your phone, and they scan this QR code, and it has all of your flight information on there. So you can achieve the same result in, say, like a factory, like, you know, putting a QR code for activity on a factory floor item or something like that. Now, to read this QR code, you can go one of two ways. One is that the easiest way, especially if you're using a like a laptop or a desktop, is you can buy off-the-shelf QR code readers that plug into your USB port, and they're essentially a keyboard. So they pretend to be a keyboard, and you can scan this. So if you have, like, you're scanning barcodes or QR codes, you can scan those right into the field on your form and transform them and do those things like that. Now, if you're going to do this on the mobile side, what you will do is, the way to be able to do that is you use our PhoneGap integration, and I'll go ahead and go Android here. And the PhoneGap integration, and for people that are new to that, let me take a step back. Alpha has a full PhoneGap integration, so you can create an app using our solution. So when you're ready, once you've designed your solution, you click the PhoneGap button up here. It opens up a Genie where you put in your username and password. You tell it what you're going to develop for. But the most important thing about that is that we're able to link to the native API of the device. So I can get access to the camera. I also have PhoneGap plugins, say a barcode scanner. So it allows me to do, let's see if there's a QR. I think the barcode scanner works for both of them there. So once I've selected that, what will happen is when I build my app for the phone, it can access the camera, so you can press a button, it'll open up and it will read the barcode and put that data right into a field. And so what you do is you add a little bit of JavaScript into it, and you also enable the barcode scanner plugin, and then it puts it all together and allows you to use basically the phone's camera as a barcode reader or a QR code reader within the system. So a little bit more effort there. I mean, if you're just using desktop stuff, go buy one of these plugins to your, they're like $40 on eBay. It's a plugin to the side of your computer that pretends to be a keyboard. And then if you're going to be doing it on the mobile phone, just go ahead and you'll need to wrap it in PhoneGap and use the barcode scanner plugin to be able to handle that. And again, it's really straightforward and it's all built into the system. The JavaScript to actually trigger this once it's on it is literally 3 lines of code. Very, very simple.
In the previous discussion, you had mentioned something about using a placeholder control, I think maybe when you were validating.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works? Maybe show us an example.
Yeah, let me show you a quick demo of that. Okay, so the placeholder control, I think of it as actually a special kind of container because it's an invisible control. So let's do this. I'm going to create a new UX, and so I'm clicking New. I'm going to Web Component, and I want to have the UX right here. So I click Next. Okay. Now, so I've created my UX, and I go into my controls. So what I want to do first is I'm going to just create a button, and I'll show you why I like to use those a lot. So I'm going to go to Other Controls and create a button, and I'm going to say Show Message is the name of the button. And down here on Click, I'm going to go ahead and when a person clicks on that button, I want to actually show a message to the user. So I'm going to click Add New Action, and I'm going to go Message Box, and I'm going to say Hello Webinar. Okay. So I have a very simple and I'll go ahead and show it in our browser so you can see it nicely. So now when I show this and I click this button, watch what happens. Okay, it uses the built-in JavaScript alert function. So it's modal, meaning I have to click to make it go away, and you'll notice I can't do anything else. Not very subtle, kind of a brute force attempt, but works. Very, very powerful there. But I'd like to have it be a little bit more subtle than that, and that's a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to go ahead and add a placeholder control, and you'll find that in the Other Controls. So when you're in the Controls section, you'll have Data Controls, Panels, Containers. You go down to Other Controls and click Placeholder Control. And you'll notice that it puts in here Placeholder, and it gives it name Placeholder number 1. So now I want to go back to my button here, Message, Show Message, and I'm going to go to my click event. I'm going to get rid of this. So I'm going to delete this action because I don't want to do it that way anymore. And I'm going to click here, Add New Action. And in this case, I want to show what's called a fade out message, which is different from a message box. So I'll click OK. So it says, OK, you want to show a fade out message. What do you want to say? And I'll say, OK, I'll go ahead and edit this. And I'm going to say, Hello Webinar. Okay. It's asking me how long do I want to show it. I'm going to kick it up. That's 2 seconds. I'm going to show it for 4 seconds. It's asking me where I want to show the message. So in this case, what I want to do is I'm going to put it in a placeholder control, and it's going to be placeholder number 1, the thing I just added there. And then the message style at this point is going to be default. If you want, there's other ways you can style it, but that's pretty straightforward here. So now, when I click on this button, it's going to run a fade-out message instead of the alert message. So I'm going to click Save, save this, go ahead and go back into the preview, open the browser. So now watch what happens when I click the button. Now, notice how I have this nice little fade-away message right here. And every time I click it, it just shows that message there. So 2 things. 1, it's a little more stylish and interesting. Two, I don't have to click it to make it go away. So if I just want to notify the user there's a problem, I can do that. This is an easy way to do that from that standpoint. If I wanted to stop the user, really kind of bop them in the head, I would use the other method from there. But I can completely style this. So even this is kind of like a gray. I could actually make that into a there, and I could also make the fade out longer and things like that. So I like these placeholder controls. Now, let me go into the button here, and I'm going to click on the event, and this is the action JavaScript, but let me show you the actual JavaScript. It's very straightforward. It's just dialog object, fade out message. I give it which placeholder I'm going to send it to, and then this is my message, how long, and whether I want animation or not. So therefore, what I can do is that if I want to change that message dynamically, all I have to do is send this information out and change the message, and now I have a kind of like a customizable messaging system to the user. Excuse me. And you'll see this often with some other applications. They'll have like when a mail comes in or something changes. What you want to do is notify the user, but not stop them. They're busy doing their stuff. You don't want to stop them in their tracks. So what you can do is behind the scenes, if a notification comes in, you can just show that nice little, oops, that doesn't work there. Let me get out of here. What you can use is this placeholder can be anywhere in your screen. And so therefore you could maybe put it up here in the right corner. And so like when a new message comes in or something happens, you saved a record. You can put a nice little subtle message so they can see it, recognize it, and then keep moving forward. So very powerful control. That is the combination of the placeholder control, which you find in other controls, and then using a little piece of JavaScript that is generated for you automatically to show the particular message you would like there from that standpoint. So that's how I use placeholders to make just a little bit more refined interfaces for people using the system.
Excellent. Well, that looks like all of the questions that we have today. Unless someone else wants to ask one at the last minute, we'll give you guys a minute. But wanted to let you know that Dion will not be available next Wednesday. We're actually going to take a Wednesday off from our Wednesday webinars. We'll be returning the following Wednesday. So get your questions in, or if you have any topics that you'd like to cover, we can prepare for that 2 weeks from today. So let me see if we've got any more. Yeah, a couple more have come in. So are there other options for animations using the fade-out messages is one of the questions.
Well, interesting you ask that. First is that, yeah, let me go ahead and go into the button and the fade-out message. The fade-out message control is pretty straightforward, so it's pretty simple there. But when you are working with the container window, the window actually has a lot of very powerful animation capabilities. So you're actually able to say, okay, so let me go ahead and show you how this works here, is that I'm going to go ahead and launch this and just show you how it works. So an alternative is to use a container or a window to do somewhat similar. So let me go ahead and show the window that standpoint there. So let me go back in here, and let me go into the window itself. And in this case, what I want to do is turn on animation, and then I have a bunch of different options for showing the type, the style, etc. kind of scenario. So now watch what happens when I run this once I've set animation. So there's none on the placeholder, but if you'd like to use animation on the windows, you'll notice that I have that fade-in effect. Watch what happens next. We get a nice little fade-in effect. And since Windows containers, like this is a window, but this could actually be fixed at a certain point. And I'll show you an example of that next week. So the cool thing about that is that you could create your own sort of placeholder component out of a window and achieve the same effect by building it yourself with a container that's of type window. And then you get a bunch of control over the animation, the location, the behaviors, and things like that. So what's really neat about that is a placeholder is basically a pretty simple thing. But what if I wanted to show kind of a little cool fade-out box up here on the right, and then had them say OK or cancel on that fade-out? So it fades in and says, oh, I found this information. Do you want to act on it, yes or no? We could actually achieve that by having a window in a fixed place on the interface, and then having those controls on that window and use that fade-in, fade-out And you could also say if they don't take any action, fade this out after a period of time. So you can actually force it to close after a period of time by adding a little JavaScript in there. So I'll show it that next time, but that's a great question. The placeholder, again, capability really out of the box doesn't have that sort of control, but you can create your essentially your own placeholders using containers or windows and things like that to achieve some of those really cool modern Web 2.0 effects that you see on sites all the time.
And it looks like we do have one more question. So we have someone here who's written in saying that they just created the photo app. It's one of the beginning applications that we do. You know, that one that Dan built. He says, but he wants to put a warning button on the back button. Wants to put a warning on the back button of the display update panel, right? So in other words, if the data has been updated but you didn't hit save yet, he wants to, when you click it, to say, hey, are you sure you want to go back?
Okay. Yep. And so the way to do that is that I'm going to go ahead and create a new button here. I'm going to go back to my placeholder. I'm going to create a new button, and that could be an image too. And then on the click event here, what I'd like to do is the following: is on the click event, I'm going to add a new web, and then what I want to be able to do is, where is that? Which one is it? Is it message box? Yes. Okay. So I want to, in that case, I want to stop them and show them, say, I need an answer for you. So I'm going to click that button there. I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to use the message box. And you'll notice here that I have OK, but I can also have OK cancel. So now watch what happens. So I'm going to click OK. And let me go ahead and show you how this operates, and then I'll show you the next step on how we want to do this. So when I click this button, now you'll see I have an OK cancel. So both of them, by the way, closes the window, but then I can trap that answer to do something. And the way I do that is the following. So I go back into my message box here, and then I want to use an advanced message box. Okay. So when I did this, you'll notice that it's a lot different. So I'll say confirm exit. So I'm giving the message box title there. I'm asking what kind of type I want. In this case, I want it to be a OK cancel. So now what it does is it gives me hooks. Here's my two little pieces of JavaScript, OK and cancel. So if the person clicks OK, it's going to run this JavaScript here. So I'm going to put in a little piece of JavaScript called OK there. So I'm going to submit an alert there. And if they sit there and cancel, I'm going to say alert cancel. Okay? And so then now when I go in here and I run this, let's see what happens here. So I click here. Notice it has my custom message so I can ask him stuff. Then I have OK and cancel. If I click OK, you'll notice that it ran that little piece of JavaScript to say OK. Same thing, cancel, up. Yeah, and this is just saying, but you'll notice that it showed that cancel there. Now that's kind of just boring and stupid. But what you can do is you can actually go in here, and in this OK button, you could, for instance, issue the submit request or the synchronize button or any other action to do what they want to do. Or you could say, if they want to cancel it, you could say clear the form and navigate to the other panel. So when they click that back button, you can actually capture that, throw up a message box, and actually you can determine if you want to show this message box. So if they haven't done anything, you could go ahead and process it. But if they have done something, you can do a check to say, oh, if this field is filled out, then you can run the message box action. And when you run the message box action, what it does is it then gives the user the opportunity to either say, okay, I really want to leave without saving things, and then you say, okay, then do a panel navigate. If you do want to, if they say, no, I want to stay where I'm at, you just cancel and do nothing. Or you could say, like have another button that says save changes and proceed. And when you click the save, it would like do a submit or a synchronize of the data back to the server and then navigate back to where you want to go. So that message box control is very simple. Now the cool thing too about this message box is that it is, once you get to know it, you can actually look at this JavaScript right here, and this is almost always the same. You'll notice that here I'm defining the message box, what the title is, my message, the OK and value, and then you'll notice right here it does the if button is equal to cancel, do the alert cancel. And so therefore you can actually copy this and make much more sophisticated kind of JavaScript things by just merely doing the view JavaScript. So I usually, that's a kind of a pattern, is I almost always use the built-in tool to build what I want to have happen. And then I use this view JavaScript to go in there and say, oh, you know what? I could just change this to say alert, hello there. And therefore, I don't have to go through and change. Then I can even make this and put 3 or 4 JavaScript commands. I mean, I can get crazy on it there. And it allows me to learn these little tricks, and then I can add that JavaScript to anything I want. I can make a JavaScript function out of it. Lots of cool things you can do with it. So that's how I would attack that problem.
Excellent. Well, then a follow-up question to that is, how would you determine if the data is dirty, whether or not it should even display the box to begin with?
The dialog itself will allow you to do that. So let me go down here, and let's assume this was like a data-bound dialog. I'm going to go down here and click this Submit Reset button right here. This is in Define Controls. So it creates 2 pre-made buttons right there. Now check this out. I'm going to go over here, and you'll notice that like when I go into my working preview, let me go ahead and show this in the browser. You'll notice something. My Submit button is kind of grayed out. I can't touch it. I can't click on it. Because behind the scenes, you'll notice on here, the enable expression for button submit says dialog is dirty is true. That's my hint. There's actually a function that you can call, or a setting on the dialog, where the dialog's kind of watching itself, and it says, oh, if someone has entered a piece of data in one of the fields, then I will behind the scenes set my dialog.isDirty to be equal to true. And then I can refer that in my buttons on the enable, or I can refer it actually in JavaScript and make a call, say, hey, isDialog is dirty. If it's true, then show the message. If not, go ahead and just show the person the next page or whatever it happens to be. And the way I know that is that, you know, I just look at this submit reset. I want it to only submit when there's data available. And that's where I find this enable expression, be able to do that from there.
Excellent. I think that's it for questions. So I just want to thank everyone for attending. Thank you very much, Dion, for presenting.
Oh, thank you. Always a pleasure.
We will not see you next week, but we will see you the week afterwards. So
yeah, and we'll continue on containers on Windows. I do want to show you that the kind of mobile paradigm and how you would use it both in mobile and on the desktop. You'll really get a lot of kick out of it. It's really, it'll get your creative juices going.
Excellent. Also, if you do have any questions in the meantime or have suggestions for topics, send them over to guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, at alphasoftware.com. And I can get your questions answered, and we can also prepare demonstrations if you would like to see something presented live. So thanks again. And again, a copy of this recording can be found at videos.alphasoftware.com. Give us a couple days to put it up. Thanks again. Hope to see you at a future webinar. Bye-bye.